I started cutting grass in high school as a way to make extra cash, and I just stuck with this little lawn mowing business all through high school and all through college. And over a 15-year period of time, I built this little lawn mowing business into one of the largest landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee where I live.
So we can actually show our customers, hey, if you put $1 into marketing, if you put $2 into marketing, you're going to get $3, $4, $5, $6 back. Because at the end of the day, if it's not making money, it's not marketing.
The name of your company and what you do has to be memorable. And usually when people read our banner or see our website or hear our name, they go, Mother Trucker Yoga, and okay, I'll bite.
We've got the world's first product that is as natural as you can get, that reduces dental tartar, which makes everybody have a healthier mouth when they go into the dentist.
This is Richard Gearhart on Passage to Profit, the show that's all about entrepreneurs, small businesses, and the intellectual property that helps them flourish. Our guest this evening is Bryan Clayton, who is a business mentor for enterprises and the CEO and co-founder of GreenPal, an app that connects local lawn care professionals with consumers. GreenPal has been called the Uber for lawn care and generates $20 million per year in income. Our Power Move segment is hosted by Kenya Gipson, who will be interviewing Jared Curry, who is 19 years old and is the founder of a 7-figure business. After that, we'll hear from our presenters, Hope Zvara, who will keep your body parts moving on that long ride, and afterwards, John Anderson, who will keep those teeth clean. Filling in tonight for Elizabeth Gearhart is Kenya Gipson. Elizabeth is getting ready for our son's wedding. So welcome to the co-hosting role, Kenya. It's really great to have you here. And Elizabeth said before we got started that we couldn't leave things in better hands. So welcome to Passage to Profit again.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be your co-pilot today. I know planning a wedding and getting ready for a wedding is not an easy task. So kudos to her. She probably needs a whole week off to do
That's
this.
basically what she said. And I'm like, well, what do you need a week off for? And since then I've seen pedicures, manicures, hair things, facial things, dress alteration things. For me, I think I'm just going to polish my shoes, maybe get a haircut, even though I'm not really sure I need it. And also probably get my shoes on and just grab a suit, right? And hit the road. So
guys have it easy when it comes to the event stuff. You just need a nice suit and a good shave, and that's it. We have all these other things to do. It's so annoying.
So I guess she was right to take the week off, and we're really looking forward to it. Our son's getting married in Pittsburgh to a wonderful girl, and I'm really happy that they're starting life together. It's a very happy time for us and our family. So,
well, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. It's really a justification for missing Passage to Profit for sure. So, so in any case, we usually start with some IP in the news. We've got 2 stories tonight that talk about. One is the discussion lately about COVID vaccine and patents, right? So should the companies, the pharmaceutical companies that created the vaccine, should they be encouraged or forced to turn over their intellectual property to other countries so that other countries can make the vaccines and be put in a position where that perhaps more doses could be created more quickly? And I guess there's really 2 sides to this. The first side is the humanitarian side. And in fact, the US government does have the power under the Bayh-Dole Act to order companies to provide a compulsory license to intellectual property if it's deemed to be in the public interest and if the inventions were made with federal funds. So they certainly have the power to do that. And anybody who accepts federal funds for research may be required to do that. Also, there's the hope that maybe by spreading the knowledge a little bit, the virus will be better controlled, right? If the more people have access to the vaccines, then they'll be able to put the nip in the bud of this pandemic a little bit sooner. So that's one possibility. The other side of this is that really it's not so much the patents, but it's all of the know-how and all of the understanding on how to actually make and produce the vaccine that is really the most important part, and not so much the intellectual property. And as I understand it, making the vaccines is very complicated, and it takes a lot of know-how and manufacturing know-how, which really couldn't be transferred that quickly. So you have those two competing pieces. I'm just wondering, Kenya, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like such a complicated conversation, right? Because then you have someone who has invented something and they're passionate about protecting it, and then you're almost being forced to share your knowledge and your intellectual property against your own will. So it's like, that's kind of good and it's kind of bad. I do believe in the whole humanitarian thing, though. Like, if you have some sort of method or you have some sort of invention that's world changing and is going to help other people, like, I think that's the right thing to do, to share it. But I guess my question to you is, like, you know, if it's made with federal funds and they're kind of forced to do this, do they have to share the method of manufacturing outside of the actual formula itself?
Oh, that's a really great question. So they probably have patents on the methods of manufacturing, since it is complex. So it's not just the formula that they would be asked to share. I think that the resistance to this, well, I think it's financial, obviously. It's the COVID vaccines are going to need to be made for a long time. Right now, the average cost of a COVID vaccine is $40 per vaccination. So it's not outrageously expensive like, you know, some drug treatments. And if you share the technology for making this one vaccine, you're not just sharing the technology for one vaccine, you're sharing a platform technology, which means this technology could be used to make a lot of different things. And so the companies have invested for a long time to develop these platforms, and sharing them, you know, if they just restricted the use to making COVID vaccines, maybe that would work, but they're reluctant to share this technology that could be used for other reasons. So,
and rightfully so. I mean, I feel like this is not really a case of one size fits all, because
right.
they all have their own different versions. So it's tricky to kind of know what's the right and the wrong way to go about this, you know.
Right.
But again, I think if it's going to help the greater good, you know, information is power, and, you know, you have to kind of look at it that way too.
I agree. And I was listening to the CEO of an Indian, you know, India is having a lot of problems right now. And he admitted that they could, even if they had the technology, they wouldn't be in a position to actually manufacture the vaccine for anywhere from a year to 18 months anyway. And, but what he said, which I thought was a good idea, would be some sort of partnership with the companies where they can kind of work out the details and protect everybody's interests. And so I think something like that sounds to me like a fair way to go about doing things. Getting the vaccines out there is the priority, but if you can also manage it in a way to kind of help everybody keep their investments strong, then I think that that makes a lot of sense. And so I thought that was a good suggestion coming from, you know, somebody in India. So
For sure.
So, and the next part, we have our wacky patent palooza. So today we're going to be talking about the famous banana case. It looks like a sausage and it splits down the middle, and you can put your banana in there when you're carrying it to lunch or to work. And this way you don't have to worry about having a smashed banana, because I always put mine in my backpack, and sometimes it makes it in one piece and sometimes it doesn't. I think it's a great idea. My only question is, well, what if your banana is different size or different shape? Do you get a bunch of different banana cases? Does one size fit all bananas? I'm not really sure where that could go, but it seems like a creative idea. So
Creative. I mean, I love bananas, and it's funny because I'm like, I didn't know anything like that existed. You're right. And you travel around with it. It's not like something you can kind of stick anywhere, because if it gets smushed, it just makes everything gross and disgusting.
right.
But I'm sure they had to have like a variation in size, right? Like they are, it's not, it can't, I don't think it can be a one size fit all type of product. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, I mean, the way the patent reads, they do say that you need different sizes. So, but you know, they make Tupperware in different sizes, right?
True.
So why couldn't you have your own banana carrier collection, right? So
it's a great idea. I would actually buy that. It's a great solution to a smushy, gross banana.
Have a banana on the go.
Right. That's so funny.
Yeah. And the other one, you could have an avocado case, because those get smushy too. And
that's a good
avocados
idea
are
as
supposed
well.
to be very healthy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so now it's time for Richard's Roundtable. We'd like to hear from our guests about what they think about what they just heard. You can make a comment about anything that we just discussed. So let's start with Bryan. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Richard, great to be here. Thanks for having me on. I love the banana case. Solid idea. Where can I invest?
Well, you'd have to check with the owner and see if you could get a license to it, maybe go into business with them. You know, that's always a possibility.
If we could just take it one step forward, the Uber for bananas, maybe if I could push a button and have it delivered to me, that would be even better.
I like that idea. Grubhub for bananas.
Yeah.
So, Jared, how about what do you think?
Well, once again, thanks again for having me, Richard. So I have to first start off and say, I think I might be a little younger than most on here. So I remember the days of going into elementary school and everyone had a banana in their backpack for lunch or for snacks. So I think it's an amazing idea.
Do you ever get into banana fights with anybody?
You know, I don't recall, but I do recall a time in first grade. Maybe it happened. I'm gonna plead the fifth, but there might have been a food fight, and it might have been my fault.
Well, way to take responsibility for it. You know, what can you say? So, Hope, what are you thinking?
Well, I think any good product or service, you find a need in the industry that you're in, and you create a product around it. And I think there's definitely a need for this. I'm thinking every truck stop and, you know, every airport, because what do every airport, like little kiosks sell? Apples and bananas. And what happens when you shove your bag under the seat in the airport or in the airplane? Your banana gets smushed. So I'd be a buyer, and I think there are a lot of buyers out there. Although I think the patent, it should be like accordion. So it's like your banana's longer, your banana's smaller. But I definitely think they're onto something. And I agree, the one size doesn't fit all when it comes to bananas. We don't want to discriminate against short or long or anything like that. So bananas are definitely,
size doesn't really matter, right? So that's good. You know, you could like make you could sell bananas in these cases, right? You know, if you could make them make them cheap enough, you could charge an extra dime for a banana. I think people would pay for that. So.
Sell the Dole and stick their label on it, and you got a gold mine.
There you go. John, what are you thinking?
Well, both your topics are really interesting, actually. With regard to the intellectual property on the COVID, I would add, you both covered the financial aspect, but the fact is that the companies that are making these vaccines are not just profiting from the money that was put in by government, but also by the fact that the FDA did a very unusual thing and given them emergency authority to distribute. Because there's 4 phases of clinical research, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3. That's why a vaccine takes 10 years. The FDA said, we give you emergency authority. You can put it out to the public, and basically your phase 4 trial is going now. So these companies wouldn't have made a thing, wouldn't have sold a single dose if the government hadn't supported them financially in some regard by distribution. And secondly, by giving emergency authority. That normally be 4 or 5 years away, but it was important for us as a society to get this vaccine out and get it going. So based on that, based on the fact of the money, the distribution, it's financially supported, and emergency authority, and we are a citizen of the world, I would like to see some sort of licensure. I would think that would be an option, is to some sort of licensure and start helping these folks, around the world. I'd say get it out there.
That's a great point. So,
and one thing on the banana, timing is everything. And I have somehow I got started late in life, and I have a 12 and 13-year-old, but I can tell you around most schools, they don't let them take anything to school anymore that can't be thrown away. So if you took your banana in a case right now, you couldn't do it, but I love the idea, because I like the airline analogy myself. But
well, that's really great. So you're listening to Passage to Profit, and we have to take a break. Richard Gearhart with his co-host, Kenya Gipson, will be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody. This is Richard Gearhart for Passage to Profit with my co-host this evening, Kenya Gipson. Hi, Kenya.
Hi, Richard. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great. Actually, I'm a little slow today. I had the COVID vaccine on Sunday, and I had the Moderna vaccine. It just knocked me on my butt for about 2 days, and so I'm back in the swing of things now. But I hope this keeps me safe from the vaccine, and I encourage everybody else out there who hasn't gotten it yet to get it, right? Very important part of controlling this epidemic. So,
well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. So with us tonight is Bryan Clayton, who's a business mentor and the CEO and co-founder of GreenPal, an online marketplace that connects homeowners with local lawn care professionals. And he's been called the Uber for lawn care by Entrepreneur Magazine. Over 200,000 active users, completing the thousands of transactions a day and generating lots of money. So welcome to our show, Bryan. So what's it like to run a big business like that?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Richard. It's awesome to come on and share my story. So yeah, starting GreenPal, we're an 8-year overnight success. Started this in the summer of 2013, and it didn't start off as a big company. It actually started off very, very, very small and humbly. My two co-founders and I started working on the app 8 years ago, and the first thing we did was pass out a bunch of door flyers all over Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, getting the word out about this app that we had built, which was supposed to be the Uber for lawn mowing, but it didn't really fulfill that vision in the early days. It was really clunky, it was hard to use, but luckily we were able to hustle up a few dozen people to use it, and we just kept talking to people, asking them what they wanted to see the app to do, and we just rinsed and repeated that process over year after year after year, and we were doubling in every year after year in the early years, and that number just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now here we are 8 years later, a couple 100,000 people using the app. We're doing over $20 million a year in revenue. And now it's starting to get fun. I've got a good team around me. I come into work every day. Everybody here is smarter than me. That's a lot of fun. And it's actually getting to the point where we've got some good momentum behind us, and we're able to take bigger bets and do things quicker and faster. So it's just one of those things, we just stuck it out in the early years, and luckily we just didn't give up. And I think that's the key to our success. It was just not giving up.
Kenya?
That's great. Yeah, no, I have two questions for you. One is, when is the last time you mowed a lawn? And the other one is, how do you find people, how are you finding the people that are actually contracting with you that go out and provide the service?
That's a great question. So before GreenPal, I actually had a lawn mowing business. I started cutting grass in high school as a way to make extra cash, and I just stuck with this little lawn mowing business all through high school and all through college. And over a 15-year period of time, I built this little lawn mowing business into one of the largest landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee, where I live. I got that business over 150 employees, over $10 million in revenue. And in 2013, the business was acquired by one of the largest landscaping companies in the United States. So I kind of have the lawn mowing business in my DNA. I have the scars and all of the experience and know how it works from the inside out. And so I plowed all of that into how we built the app for GreenPal. And so GreenPal is really, it's an app that connects buyers and sellers. It's a marketplace, and it's a nice convenience for homeowners to get this service done. But really why we do what we do, why I get out of bed in the morning, is to give anybody access to the American dream, give anybody access to running a successful lawn care business just by plugging into our platform and working hard. And because I know how hard it is to run a lawn mowing company. And that's why I love this job. That's why I love founding this company, is because, you know, we have story after story after story, people that didn't know how to run their business, didn't know how to market it, weren't making any money. And after a year on our platform, they're making the more money they've ever made in their entire life, material income. And that's a lot of fun for me. And so, yeah, that taking that kind of supplier approach first, solving for all of their needs, is how we are able to offer a nice convenience to homeowners where they can push a button and hire them off the shelf.
That's
amazing.
great. So do you recommend mowing the grass when it's wet?
No, unless you want to irritate an upset customer. Now, sometimes you have to, particularly in the springtime and, you know, anywhere where it's just raining like 3 or 4 days out of the week. Sometimes you have to, but then you got to get out a smaller piece of equipment. You might have to push mow it. You can't get the big tractor on the lawn. It's going to leave ruts. So you're going to have an upset customer. So I do not recommend that.
I appreciate that, because sometimes our lawn ends up with ruts, and it's not a pleasant sight, let me tell you.
Right. Yeah. If you want to keep that customer, you might want to let it dry out. Or, you know, a lot of things that we teach our service providers, just communication, proactive communication with your clientele. Reach out to your customer, say, hey, a little wet this week. You mind if we skip this week? It might get a little long, but I think it's a better move. So really training that service provider to run a successful small business is kind of what our technology does over time, because, you know, we're not taught this stuff in school. We're not taught how to run a small business in high school or college. You kind of have to learn this stuff as you go. And that's what our app is kind of geared towards, is training anybody to run a successful lawn care business, and slowly kind of evolving them from not knowing how to do it to running a 6-figure company.
That's great. That brings me to my next question. So I was going to ask you, what systems do you have in place to ensure that every customer has that same experience every time? Because obviously you're building a brand, and, like, you know, you have all these people that are part of the platform, but, like, how do you ensure that everyone's having that same GreenPal experience?
That's an awesome question, because that's the kind of the role of our platform. That's our job, is to make sure that a homeowner gets a good quality job done when they hire somebody to come out to mow their yard. They don't know them, you know, they don't know if they're any good or not. And so when we first started, it was very much hand cranking. We would interview these people face to face. We would look at their equipment. We would talk to their past customers, and we would make sure that through a curated approach that we only got the best on the platform. You know, now we have 25,000 lawn care services that use it. We can't personally do that to every single one of them, but what we have built are systems in place to understand these are the reliable contractors, and these are the ones that aren't so reliable. And so we measure them on a few different dimensions. One is, how often do they show up on time? How often do they show up on the day they are supposed to show up to come cut your grass? And you would think this is a simple thing, but like the case of the disappearing lawn guy, or the case of the lawn guy flaking or ghosting on you, it's real. Like, they just don't show up, and then they just drop off the face of the earth. So we measure that. And so we understand, okay, 93% of the time this service provider shows up on the day they're supposed to. And then we also measure, how often do they get booked for a second lawn mowing, third and fourth lawn mowing? Because that's a big indicator of, are they offering a quality service? Do they do a nice and neat job edging the driveway and blowing off all the grass clippings? Do they communicate? Do they you know, if the grass is really tall, do they run over it a couple times to make it nice and neat when they're done? Like, all of these things, you really can't, like, grade all of the details, but you can through just a passive signal, such as, okay, Joe's Lawn Care came out and mowed. I booked them for the whole season. That's a positive score. Or, hey, Joe never gets booked for a second lawn mowing. We kind of need to downgrade him in the platform. And if he doesn't hit a certain number of benchmarks, we expel the ones that just aren't good. And that enables homeowners to sidestep that experience that, quite frankly, is common if you just hire somebody off of Yelp or Facebook or Craigslist. You know, you're going to have to go through like a half dozen of these folks to figure out which one's good. GreenPal enables the homeowner to kind of avoid that entire experience. You just hire a good, reliable contractor.
So Bryan, what is the cost per cut on average?
It's a good question. It varies throughout the entire country. So if you live down in Florida, you can literally get your lawn mowed for like $17. It is so competitive down there because it's year round, and it's just a lot of people are in the industry.
No wonder a lot of people move to Florida. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense now.
Yeah, you know, and it's crazy. Like that's our use case. Is it's not the homeowner that wants like the private gardener that's going to spend a bunch of money on their lawn care service. It's the working class individual that understands by the time they buy a lawnmower and they mow their own yard, they're making less than minimum wage. And so we make it affordable and convenient for anybody to hire a lawn care service and make it profitable for that lawn care service to come out and do the job.
So do the
And
lawn services pay you a franchise fee of some sort, or how do you make money off of the app?
yeah, so we're a true marketplace, and we make money off of every transaction that occurs on the platform. And that's kind of a varied percentage based on how much revenue the contractor is doing through the platform. And then we also have some premium tools that some of our bigger contractors like to pay for: better route optimization, better placement within the marketplace. So we make money a couple different ways, and that helps us reinvest into the technology, make it smoother, and market the platform. You know, we've been at this 8 years, and we're still working on one problem. How do we make lawn care easier, faster, quicker, cheaper, more convenient, more consistent, just making that better and better and better? You know, we also offer other yard maintenance services like shrubs and mulch and seed after you get hooked up with a good lawn mowing service, but we're still focused on that first kind of initial use case. How do we make that smoother, easier, cheaper, faster?
Kenya?
Right. Yeah, no, I was going to ask, you know, you bring up a good point, Richard, in terms of like challenges, like what type of challenges have you faced in addition to what you just spoke about, and how you've built up the brand and the business?
I think naivete is like a good thing for anybody starting a business. I think if you come into starting a business and you are naive about how hard, you know, how easy it's going to be, or how challenging it's going to be, that will help you get into the game. It certainly is the case for me. When I sold my landscaping company, I took some time off. I was able to retire after that, and so my next business, I was able to kind of do what I wanted to do. And I thought, you know, this business was really hard. It was a blue collar style business. It was like trucks and equipment and lots of employees. And like, I don't want to do that again. That was really hard. I want to do an easy business. I want to start a software business. And boy, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how hard that was going to be. And so a lot of the challenges in the early days is like when you're starting a software company, in most cases, you are inventing something brand new that does not yet exist. And so just kind of like the example with the banana case, you know, we're kind of like, I don't know, is it a good idea? Is it not? You know, we're making fun of it. It's a brand new product. Nobody had ever invented the banana case, right? And so it's like when you're inventing a brand new thing from scratch, there is no roadmap. There is no like other company you can look at and just execute better than them. And so that was one thing I didn't understand. And so when we, you know, first year I was confronted with like, we poured our hearts and soul into this thing. We only got like 20 customers. I was thinking, man, this is going to be really, really tough. Do I really want to do this? And the only thing that got me through that challenge was meeting with these people. And they would tell me, you know, they were disappointed it didn't work, or the prices were too high, or the contractor didn't do a good job, or it was clunky, there was buggy. It was like, it was 100 different problems. And you heard these 100 problems, you saw the disappointment, but there was one thing we didn't hear: I don't need this. We never heard that. And so we knew that at least people wanted it to work. We knew that people had the problem. They needed an easy way to hire somebody for this one chore. And that was enough validation to keep going. And so that customer feedback was kind of like our R&D, and was the thing that just kept us going through those first 2 or 3 years, which were just really, really tough.
Kenya, we have time for one more question.
Oh, no, I think what your invention is amazing, and it's simplistic, but again, just tapping into a need, like that's the best business idea, is if you're solving a problem, right? So I would just say, like, in terms of how you've grown, like you've grown exponentially, what are your next steps to scale it? Because it seems like it's already kind of a big deal, but I'd just be curious what your plans for growth are.
Yeah, when you're you know, part of a high growth company, it's fun. Like, it's growing, and you as the entrepreneur, like, you're evolving. Like, I'm not the same person today that I was 8 years ago, and that's a lot of fun, you know. And it's like you're kind of evolving every 3 or 4 years. And so that to me is like a lot of the reason why I do what I do, is because it's part of my personal growth. And it's easy to look back and say, wow, look how far we've come. But like the Jeff Bezos quote, it is still day one. We have so much further to go. And so like we're in like the default list of ways you do certain things like Instacart, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. Until we're in that conversation, we're not done. And so we got a long, long way to go, a lot of white space and a lot of hard work left ahead of us.
Well, it seems in your case, the grass is definitely greener on the other side. I had to say that.
That's a good one.
I got it in before I did. Well, that's absolutely, we're having a great time talking with Bryan Clayton, but we have to take a break and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard Gearhart, and our substitute co-host, Kenya Gipson, will be back after this commercial break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Passage to Profit, and we have a special treat for you this evening, a special power move with Coach Kenya. So Kenya, who is on our power move segment tonight?
So today for Power Move, we're featuring Jared Curry. So Jared is the inventor and founder of Scope 16. He's 19 years old and he's already built a 7-figure business, which you've got me blown away. So Jared, welcome to Power Move. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Kenya, for having me.
Yeah. So tell us about Scope 16 and where the idea and the vision came from.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to start off from the very early days because, people always look at your success and they see where you are now, and everyone says it's an overnight success, but they don't realize that it took multiple years to get there. So I want to start from the very beginning that allowed me to get the company to where it is now. So when I first started Scope, I had just read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and it literally changed my life because it gave me permission. And keep in mind, I was in high school. I was a junior, or I believe, junior in high school at the time. And the book was telling me, it was a lot of paradigm shifts, right? And it was defying conventional wisdom, that you needed to go to school to get a high paying job. And that college was the only way to truly educate yourself. And once I read that book and I watched some of Robert's TED Talks, I gave myself permission to say, hey, I'm going to go all in on entrepreneurship because number one, you only live once, and I don't want to be on my deathbed one day saying, wow, what if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? I want to be able to say I lived and I accomplished everything that I wanted to do, and I took all the risks that I wanted to do. Because in life, you're not going to really on your deathbed, you're not going to care about, where you failed or, where you messed up. You're only going to care about what you really did. So that's what I wanted to really focus my life on. So I read the book and I started taking action. I started going on YouTube, and I said schooling wasn't the way I was going to educate myself, because schooling is not education, in my opinion. There's YouTube University out there. There's the internet. There's so many other platforms where someone can learn. And I found someone named Billy Wilson on the internet on YouTube. And he was talking about how he actually dropped out of college at the age of 21, I believe. And he actually started his own social media marketing company. And once I saw videos about that, I went all in. I had to use OPM because I wanted to invest in coaching with Billy. So I used my parents' money to invest in some coaching with Billy, and he taught me how to build a social media marketing company. And that's kind of how we got started.
Gotcha. I was like, OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, got it. So it is a social media marketing agency, right? You focus on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and you help people and brands use all these things. So I would say, what makes you different from all of the other agencies out there? Because that's everyone's claim these days, right? So what do you say makes your agency different?
That's a really, really good question, Kenya. And I want to start off and first say, we've had a lot of different phases in our agency. In the beginning, when I really didn't know much, I was focusing on just any business that would work with us. We had a taxi company, we had a cleaning company, that we were helping them get more customers. And then we eventually niched down into the fitness space. And we scaled up to about the 6-figure run rate. So we were doing a little more than $14,000, $15,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. And at that point, COVID happened. and we were in fitness. So all of our gyms had to shut down. So we lost all of our retainers in probably a span of a week and a half, I would say. So we went to zero, and I was a senior in high school at the time. Um, and then after that, I said, hey, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to restart this entire thing, reset the entire process. And I didn't see it I stopped looking at it as a big problem, and I saw it as an opportunity. Because what happened during COVID, everyone was going online and they were buying stuff online. They couldn't go in the store. And I knew e-commerce was going to blow up. And I know that e-commerce is going to continue to blow up. So I decided to put all of our eggs in that one basket and go all in on the e-commerce space, because at the end of the day, a lot of agencies, they're the jack of all trades, but they're the master at none. So I decided to focus specifically on e-commerce, and now we're helping e-com brands blow up, using coaching, using content, and we're actually getting them customers because we're using something called the Facebook pixel code. So we're using the Facebook algorithm to track conversions. So we can actually show our customers, hey, if you put $1 into marketing, if you put $2 into marketing, you're going to get $3, $4, $5, $6 back. Because at the end of the day, if it's not making money, it's not marketing. So that's the biggest differentiator between us and other agencies. We actually generate revenue for our clients.
I love that. That's the good tagline to live by. So what are some next steps for you? I mean, do you have employees already? Like what does Scope 16 look like? Because I feel like you're 19 and I'm like, this is amazing that you've been able to build this business.
Yeah, great question, Kenya. And for everyone out there listening, we wouldn't have reached the 7-figure run rate without a team. I wouldn't be here without my team today. We actually have 15 full-time people on our team right now and one other part-time person. And as of now, the agency, as I like to say, is kind of automated. I've been taking a vacation test. I just came back from Mexico and a few other parts of the United States, and the agency is still growing. And I'm letting my team take control now, because I realized that the next step is honestly to bring it to an 8-figure company. But if you want to have an 8-figure company, you have to become an 8-figure human being. So I had to bring people on my team and partner with other people that I believe that they were a little closer to that, just because of maturity and they have a little bit more experience. And right now they are managing the company right now. Luke Simmons and Nicola, they're managing the company right now, and they're in charge of the operations. And right now I'm using this time to actually coach other agency owners so that I can level up my own skills, because the best way to learn is by teaching other people. So I'm trying to level up myself right now and become that 8-figure human being so that I can run an 8-figure company.
I hear you. Well, that's amazing. I mean, and I guess my last question for you would be, I mean, you're 19, right? I have a 22-year-old, right? And I still have times where I'm like, why should we take you seriously? Right. So to all those people out there that are older than you, right? Like, has that been a challenge for you? And why should people take you seriously, even though you're only 19?
It's a great question. Well, first off, in the beginning, when I was starting and scaling the agency, I remember my first meeting. I walked in, it was with an accountant. I'm from Jersey, so people are really direct, right? I walk into the meeting. First, he sees me because I cold called him. He didn't know I was so young. And then I actually go in person for the meeting and sat down, spoke for about 2 minutes, and he started laughing at me. And that was the first time I even thought for a second that age would be a factor. And I realized something, that he wasn't really laughing at me. He was laughing at my inexperience. And then on top of that, my age. So it really wasn't so much the age, it was more so the inexperience. So what did I have to do in the beginning? I had to build momentum, get experience, and figure out how this actually works, how this entire process works. I was offering free trials. I was working for people for free and charging really low retainers in the very beginning, just to get momentum, just to get experience. And then after that, I was able to show people that I know what I'm talking about. And once people have a conversation and they see the track record with our agency, where we've worked with over 100 brands and generated them over $30 million in the past few years of us being in business, I think
people are taking you seriously.
Yeah, I think they kind of forget about the
Great.
That's another thing with my team. Everyone on my team is older than I am. So that's another thing.
And that's probably an interesting place to lead from, right? Like being the younger person. But to your point, you have it together and you have a story that validates you, right? And that's why people are taking you seriously. So I'm glad that you broke that down, because sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions with younger people that they don't have it together. But I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you today. And you are listening to Power Move on Passage to Profit with Jared Curry today. And his story has been wonderful and inspiring.
It certainly has, Jared, and thanks a lot for appearing on Passage to Profit. Your story is a great one and inspiring to all entrepreneurs, and it goes to show that if you put your mind to it, you can do it no matter where you're starting from, right? So great message, and we wish you all of the success going forward. That's really outstanding to hear what you've done.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we have to take a commercial break right now, but we'll be back with more Passage to Profit right after this. Welcome back, everybody. It's Passage to Profit. And if you've been stuck in a truck for a long period of time, our next guest has the solution for you. Hope Zvara is here to talk about her project. Go ahead and tell us how you solved this problem.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show today. And I work with truck drivers. People usually look at me and go, truck drivers? And yeah, so I help truck drivers move more.
Do you have truck drivers in your family?
You know, interestingly enough, I don't. And so I am not a truck driver by nature, but 3 years ago, I met someone in trucking, and that's really kind of how all this magic started. So I help truck drivers move more from the cab of their truck. 3 to 5 minute easy moves that they can do from the driver's seat, the sleeper, which is their bed, and right outside the rig. And like I said, 3 years ago, I met somebody in trucking. I have a background in yoga and fitness. I had a yoga studio for 14 years and a yoga school here in Wisconsin, and I was looking for a change. Maybe you can relate. You get to a point in your career where you're like, I think I did everything I have done and can do in this area. And I was looking for that next step. And I went to a local business mixer here with my husband, and I knew everyone in the room, and I look over at this guy I'd never met before, and I'm trying to pitch him corporate yoga because that's part of what I did. And he looked at me and said, do you have anything for truck drivers, like in the cab of their truck? And I threw up my hands and I said, mother trucker yoga, just trying to get a rise out of this guy, have a conversation. And he looked at me and stuck out his hand and said, that's brilliant. You want to go into business? We shook on it, and he called me the next day. And in 4 months, we built a full platform, a video platform for drivers and companies to subscribe to. And we built a website, and we launched at the country's largest truck show in Louisville. That was 3 years ago.
Amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Kenyon, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I think of truck drivers, right? And like in yoga's like a thing, and it could be considered like this kind of like lofty thing to do sometimes, right? How do you get truckers to kind of get past the, like they're kind of rugged guys. Like I'm not trying to, throw shade, but like, how do you get their mindset and adjust their mindset to embrace the whole yoga thing?
Well, I think first of all, one of the things I've learned being in business as long as I have is the name of your company and what you do has to be memorable. And usually when people read our banner or see our website or hear our name, they go, mother trucker yoga, and okay, I'll bite. And if our company was like yoga for the driver's seat, I don't think it would create the conversation it does. So I think that's the first win that we have, is that people are willing to come up to us and have a conversation, whether or not they're interested. And the second thing is, we're not your traditional yoga. So you're never going to see us telling drivers to put their foot on their head and, meditate and om the night away. We're really focused on small, simple changes. And one of the things we learned when my former business partner and I looked at, okay, is there a market for this? Is there something for us here in the trucking industry? We found a couple other people kind of doing some stuff in there, but their focus was for drivers to run around their truck as fast as they can for 4 minutes, to do 200 push-ups and 100 jumping jacks. And I don't know about you, but if you've seen truck drivers, the average truck driver is 55 to 65 years old, and 87% of truck drivers are overweight. I don't think any driver is going to be doing that anytime soon. And our solution is really teaching drivers small, simple changes, posture, ergonomics. Hey, make sure that you reach your arms up overhead, during the day from the driver's seat. Think about when you're at a computer. How often do you find yourself and go, oh my gosh, I have not moved in like 2 hours. I've been frozen in this position.
So,
So
Hope,
it's
what
similar
kind of
to that.
what kind of information do you get from truck drivers? What kind of feedback do you get on the program?
Yeah, great question. And so our drivers that do sign up with us usually find, that they're blown away at how easy and simple it is. And because we're so focused on reducing pain and helping them move more and feel better. So then they are interested in eating healthier. They are interested in maybe thinking about exercising or, walking, whatever it is. The feedback has always been, this is a lot easier than I thought it was. I wish someone would have showed me these things sooner.
That's great. So can you give us a little rundown of the exercises that truckers can do? And do they do them while they're driving, or do they do them when they're, okay. So what kind of exercises are they?
Well, we're going to do this together here. So first things first, I just want you to sit up straight. Recognize if you've been slouching. Drivers after just, 45 minutes and then, 3 hours, 6 hours later, recognize that they're like on top of the steering wheel. If you work at a computer, by 3 p.m., I'm literally on top of my desk. It's like, whoa, Hope, you need to step back. So first things first, just sit up straight. The second thing that I want you to do is what I call break the stick. So we're focusing on posture right now. So bring your arms up in front of you, shoulder height. And I want you to imagine that you are the Incredible Hulk. And you're going to take your hands. I'm going to back up. You're going to take your hands.
Right.
And you're going to break the stick. And as you do that, you're going to feel your shoulders drop down. So we go from up tight to down. And usually people don't realize how tense they are in the shoulders until they do that. And they're like, whoa, that's a big difference. And then the last thing, you're just going to take your first two fingers to your chin. I've got some pretty loose
shoulders right now, I think.
I know. And then the last thing you're going to do is take your fingers to your chin and just slide your head back slightly. So if you're having neck pain or that pain between your shoulder blades, usually that's from forward head. Our head can add up to 60 pounds of pressure to our upper back just by hanging the head forward. So these are such simple little things that we can be doing throughout the day, whether we're a truck driver, we're a school teacher, or heck, we're on a radio show right now, being interviewed. These are small, simple changes that add up to big results.
Do you have anything?
These are the things that are going to lead them to want to exercise, to want to be healthy.
So Hope, do you have anything for back pain?
Yeah. So I'm standing right now, but if you're sitting, you can do what's called a pelvic tilt. And so you're just going to sit nice and tall again. And when you take a big breath in, arc your lower back like there's a pin behind you, or there's a little flame and you're trying to get away from it. And that might even feel a little stiff. And then when you breathe out, think about tucking your tailbone and pulling your belly muscles in towards your back body. You're kind of rounding out that. And you're just going to keep doing that repeatedly. This is one of the moves that I teach my truck drivers while they're driving.
I think everybody on the show,
get up and walk around.
I think everybody on the show is doing your exercise.
I know, right? And here's what's so important about that move.
Cars are doing it too, so.
The longer that you sit, one of the big issues with that is circulation and blood clot. And so by moving your pelvis that way, you allow more blood flow into the legs and you allow that blood flow to move back up to the heart. And so if you're just sitting even at your computer and you're not moving your body throughout the day, there are negative effects and consequences to that we don't see and usually don't see till years later. And it's like this magical issue just magically appeared. Well, it really didn't. This has been progressive over time. So these are the things that I'm really teaching these drivers, along with focus and breathing. Stress is a big issue in small little bite-sized pieces.
Kenya, do you have a question?
I love it. I was just going to say, I think I know why your name is catchy. I have some truck drivers in my family and they curse a lot. So
you gotta have fun with it. And we just recently launched a pain relief cream that is going to be moving out into truck stops nationwide in this coming year. And it's called Stiff Mother Trucker. So we gotta have fun with our clients and we gotta have a memorable name. So yes, pun intended, you can laugh, it's okay.
So all of this is available on an app. Is that how they subscribe to the app and then they get these exercises?
Yeah, so currently we're an online platform. We spent the last 2.5 years surveying our drivers to make sure everything that we have inside the platform is what they want in the way that they want it. And so our goal here in the next year to 1.5 years is to actually roll out an app. But we chose not to do that in the beginning because we wanted to make sure how it was laid out, what we were offering, the way that we were offering it was what drivers actually wanted. And we've learned a lot over the last couple of years. And if we would have done that in the beginning, I'm pretty sure I would have probably changed it about I don't know, 100 different times.
That's great. That's great. I mean, turned out to be a smart move, you know, making sure that you've got it down, and the proof of concept worked out. Kenya, do you have any final questions?
No, I was just going to say, like, it's a niche market, but a needed one. And I love how you've been thinking outside of like what we typically will think about in fitness and what our approach is. Like, I think we try to go after a whole bunch of people and try to make this one size fits all approach, where I love and respect the fact that you looked at an issue that was, affecting a specific demographic and got really smart about it. So
yeah, I would foresee, the same kind of app for like subway travelers or something. So anyway.
Or commute, like a commuter version. Yeah, for sure.
Well, really, if you're a driver of any kind, I mean, think about, Bryan with GreenPal, Uber Eats, Grubhub, all of these people are sitting in the driver's seat for hours a day. And then they're going and doing extreme movement, whether it's mowing a lawn, running in as fast as they can to someone's, front door to drop off their food, and then chasing back to the car so that they can make those couple extra bucks when they're on time and their deliveries are hot. That all plays a toll on the body. And so when we have these little teeny things in our toolbox, we're going to find that we're happier and we're healthier and we're in a better mood. And I think everybody wins when that's the case.
Great. So thanks a lot. And where can people find you?
Absolutely. You can go to our website at mothertruckeryoga.com. And we do a lot of stuff on Facebook and Instagram is a lot where my drivers hang out. So you can check us out there as well for our Facebook Lives.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for being here. You're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard Gearhart and Kenya Gipson. We'll be back right after this message. Welcome back, everyone, to Passage to Profit. This is Richard Gearhart here, along with our co-host, Coach Kenya Gipson from iHeartRadio. And our next guest is somebody that I personally had wished I'd met many, many years ago. John Anderson has a solution for tartar buildup, actually tartar reduction on your teeth. And I've struggled with this all my life. So nice to meet you, John, and tell us all about it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. My name is John Anderson. I'm the president of the Periogen company, founded about 10 years ago in San Diego. My brother was really the initiator, Doug Anderson. He had all kinds of oral care issues related to tartar buildup. He was getting frequent deep cleanings, and those are pretty invasive procedures. So he said, there's got to be a way to reduce tartar in your mouth. I mean, it formed naturally. There's got to be a way to get rid of it. So we actually started working on various compositions of existing oral care product ingredients to try to come up with something that would soften and reduce dental tartar. So, I mean, one of the big concerns, of course, is that we don't want to introduce something new to your mouth. I mean, we don't want new chemicals or anything. So everything that was used to come up with a tartar reducing solution was a food additive. So essentially, over a couple of years' time, he did develop finally as natural as you can get, tartar reducing rinse based on food additives that are already in Twinkies and ice cream and all kinds of stuff. And sure enough, it worked. And so here we are. He pulls me into the business 10 years ago, roughly, and says, we got to find a way to make a business out of this. How do we do this? So we started with our friends, and they tried our product. And over a year or so, it spread by word of mouth, pun intended, that this product was reducing tartar. And when people went into their dentist, the dentist would say, what have you been doing different? And they say, well, I'm using this product called Periogen. And they go, wow, well, tell me more about it. So we had it grew real slow. And the one thing I've noticed with all the guests here is that none of this is easy and none of it's fast. And we found there were all kinds of issues along the way that we had to overcome. The product that's been around for a long time, I'm holding a bottle that looks like could have been an old aspirin bottle here. And our original product is simply a powder. And this little bottle that a 3-ounce bottle, it's got a little scoop in it here. And that scoop, you just take out a little bit of product, take it out and mix it with water and swish every morning, preferably morning and night. And it reduces existing tartar and definitely prevents anything new from happening, because most of us wind up, it all starts with plaque. We've always heard that plaque, you've got plaque here. Well, that's just biofilm. You can scrape it off with your finger. Brushing teeth gets rid of it. But when you miss something, within about 24 hours, that plaque hardens to tartar. And that tartar can't be removed unless you go to a dentist and get it scraped. And tartar is porous. It's like a coral reef. It harbors bacteria. The issue, of course, is it also harbors the bad bacteria. And eventually that tartar will grow down along the tooth line and taking with it the bacteria. Well, once it gets really deep, the bacteria, you're really left with just nothing more than what they call anaerobic or bacteria that don't need air. And that's the one that causes periodontal infection. It's really not all bacteria, because most bacteria in our mouth are good. It's digestive bacteria. It's good for us. We want it there. But this other stuff takes hold once that tartar grows down the root line. So our product reduces dental tartar and prevents it from forming. And if you put it in an oral irrigator, it's really good at getting down into the pockets and rinsing those out. So here we are with the world's first.
What is an oral irrigator?
Oh, like a water pick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Water pick, oral irrigator. In fact, Waterpick was real excited about us and helped us with a study. So so you would think, for all of you entrepreneurs out there, you would think that something like this, we've got the world's first product that is as natural as you can get, that reduces dental tartar, which makes everybody have a healthier mouth when they go into the dentist. Should sell itself. Doesn't work that way, because as everybody here knows, it's very tough to bring these things to market, because there are industries built around what's there. Colgate, Crest, the big names, they've been around a long time. They spend a lot of money on marketing. And most people don't really understand the relationship between plaque, tartar, and periodontal disease. If you tell someone, hey, this will reduce tartar. I've had hundreds of people say, I don't have tartar. I have a buildup. My dentist says I have a buildup. And I go, or they say I have plaque. And I go, well, plaque becomes tartar, and tartar is that buildup, and we get rid of that. So there's challenges in terms of marketing a product where people don't fully understand the process. And that's because, we know what we know. And so here we go. And so early on, my brother and I said, okay, we're going word of mouth. We're getting some good sales. We're online only. When we go to the dentist, they're skeptical, because this wasn't taught in dental school that you could do this. They were taught that tartar has to be scraped off or use an ultrasonic device. So our next phase was to do clinical research. So we went about setting up studies all around the world, one in the US, one in various places. So we'd have a kind of a multicultural study, because oral care issues are different around the world.
I have a quick question. So I'm just wondering, Jared, you're a marketing guy. Do you have any thoughts about this issue, which seems to be, kind of penetrating an industry that doesn't really want anything to change, right? Because they have a financial interest in keeping things the same.
It's a really good question, and I always like to look at it from something I call upside. So unaware problem aware, solution aware, your solution aware, and then of course the deal. So right now, what it sounds like is that people, I think they might be aware of the problem, correct, John?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But are they aware of the solution?
No, and that's the big challenge. And as for example, dentists, we went after dentists with our clinical studies. That was to prove to the dental industry that we work. We did they were all university studies, peer-reviewed, published, and presented in conferences around the world. And, we got approached by a couple of dentists that said, you do what we do. And what we have hygienist chairs, and those hygienist chairs are used to clean teeth. And that's how we get people in. If people didn't have red sore or bleeding gums, they might not come in to see me. So we have a real challenge. Now, some dentists just look at this and go, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. It's the best thing we've ever seen. And some dentists look at us with real fear. And the research that we did to prove that we work only in some cases enhanced that fear. So it's been a real so what we did is we went from a powder, which makes 3 gallons of rinse. So it's the cheapest thing around. We're marketing how cheap it is with this. It's environmentally friendly, because you have one little 3-ounce bottle makes 3 gallons of rinse. Still, we were having trouble. So that's when we decided it was time to kind of go more mainstream. So we took the powder last year and we put it into a toothpaste, which I'm holding up, and the Periogen toothpaste. And we now have reapproached the dental industry with that, and they're more comfortable with the toothpaste. It's easier to use, it's conventional, and it seems to work well enough that their people are feeling good about the product, and the dentists are more apt to just say, go use this toothpaste. It's a strange business.
Bryan, do you have any thoughts or questions?
I can empathize because you're inventing something from scratch that does not yet exist. So you have to overcome entrenched customer behavior. And so I think the idea of kind of going along with what is already occurring in terms of the toothpaste is a good idea, and thinking along those lines of meeting your customer where they're at. Yeah. So it's like as marketers, as founders, as company owners, we have company logic and customer logic, and there's always a gap there, and there's always a big space, like a chasm between the way we think as owners and the way we think as founders and the way our customers are thinking. And so the better, like any way you can close that gap, and it might just be like, if you have a dozen customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers, just figuring out ways to talk to them as much as possible and reducing all of the friction to where they can talk to you. And so maybe on the bottle, you literally put your cell phone number on the bottle, and anybody that's using your product can call you, text you, email you. Like for us, that painful customer feedback on a continual basis has been why we've gotten to where we are. And there's all sorts of things that you're not thinking, you're not seeing, that your customers can tell you. And so for me, meeting customers where they're at and making it frictionless for them to speak to you as the founder are two things that can kind of help you overcome that stodgy, user behavior, the incumbents, so to speak, and overcome that and put your product in there.
I just had a quick comment, and just terms of how you're positioning yourself in the marketplace. So, typically dental insurance will only cover 2 cleanings a year. You really need 3 or more if you have you're someone who has an issue with tartar or plaque buildup and you need scaling and so on and so forth. I almost think of you as that third essential cleaning that I really need from the dentist that I'm not going to be able to get because of my insurance. So it's almost like I would be going after that consumer market that does go to the dentist, right? They're into taking care of their teeth, but they don't have the luxury of taking advantage of that third cleaning or have to pay out of pocket. So you're like that preventative maintenance to that, right? There's so many, and then there's so many people who don't even have dental insurance that would benefit from. So for me, it's I think if you had an opportunity to position yourself in the marketplace like that, people would come to you in the droves, because I know a lot of people who have issues with their oral care that just, they can't even afford to go to a dentist, but this is something they can do at home.
Actually, I like the third cleaning idea. That's pretty good. I mean, we end up, the goal of this product was to cure gum disease at home. That's a tall order and not something that cosmetic is allowed to say legally. But with an oral irrigator and things, we definitely improve things drastically at home. And that's the key. And it's funny, our demographic, I see a lot of young folks here that probably have no issue whatsoever. But once you hit your 40s and 50s, that's when it starts. That's when you start getting that well, you have a lot of buildup here, and you need a deep cleaning. And those are, that's when they numb your gums, and it's a pretty invasive process. And so we're trying to, it's tough for us also to reach to the younger crowd and say, hey, we can prevent the inevitable, which is when you hit your 40s and 50s, because basically once you hit 60, 70% of Americans have gum disease, period. 70% have some form of gum disease, and that's a chronic infection in your body. And nowadays, gum disease is associated with Alzheimer's, all kinds of stuff, because your body is always under attack as long as you have an infection. So it's been a fun, challenging road. We are making progress, and by everything that's being said here, it's It's like pulling teeth sometimes, you know. Yeah, people.
Sure it is. Well, you know, and the partnering with dental insurance companies too would make a lot of sense. They would kind of push this product if it reduced their spend
Yeah.
on, you know, oral care. And, you know, so that's also an avenue that is out there. You may have already tried that, but
Well, Kenya mentioned that as well. And Richard, you're spot on. And that's the reason the clinical research, the 7 studies, that's why it's so important. And we're doing one on the toothpaste because that it looks like we really need to be approaching the insurance company saying, hey, we have a way to bring your bills down here.
Right. And so how's the toothpaste doing?
Toothpaste is doing really well. I mean, I didn't think it would grow this fast, but it's just so easy for people. And we tell them, you know, use the toothpaste and use the rinse, but we're finding out by word of mouth that people are kind of putting the rinse away and just using the toothpaste and getting great results. We've had, we've signed on more dentists based on they order the toothpaste and then give it to their patients that are having issues. So the toothpaste is really remarkable. We just finished a study in Europe on the toothpaste. It's very positive. And so, yeah, we're excited about that. You know, so it's just, it's been a fun ride, and we still have a ways to go.
Well, that sounds great. And where can people find the toothpaste or the rinse?
You can find all of our products either on Amazon.com, or you can go direct to our website at periogen.com.
And can you spell Periogen for us?
Periogen.com.
Periogen. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a great segment, and right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I had to get at least one of my bad jokes in there. So, but you're listening to Passage to Profit, and we'll be right back after this. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit. It's been a fantastic show, hasn't it, Kenya?
So fantastic. Great conversations and a lot of great insight.
Yeah, and I absolutely love all of the different projects that we were talking about tonight. You know, everything from getting your lawn cut more efficiently to you know, getting your self-cleaning your teeth, you know, and so we really run the gamut here on Passage to Profit. Bryan Clayton, our guest, do you have any final words before we leave our audience?
Yeah, you know, I imagine we have a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs listening to this. Anybody listening to this is not in business, is thinking about it. Just like Jared said earlier, give yourself permission. Get in the game, because only when you're in the game can you win. And the thing is that you don't want to ask for the easy, cushy job. You don't want to ask for security. Ask for adventure, and your business can be the adventure of your life. It can be the thing that lends an interesting storyline to your life. So get in the game.
I love that term, adventure, because entrepreneurism is an adventure. And it's a road worth taking, I think, you know, even if it doesn't work out completely the way you want, you grow a lot and you learn a lot. And
I agree.
So I think it's very, very, very powerful. Jared, do you have any parting words for us?
Yeah, definitely. And do I have time for a quick little story?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people that are getting started off. But there's this guy, he's walking down the street and he falls into a hole, and the walls are so steep he can't get out. A doctor passes by, and the guy in the hole shouts up, "Hey doc, can you help me out? I'm stuck in the hole." The doctor writes out a prescription and he throws it down the hole and moves on. Then a priest comes along, and the guy in the hole shouts up, "Hey father, can you help me out? I'm stuck in the hole." The priest writes out a prayer, throws it down the hole, and moves on. And then a friend comes along, and and then the guy in the hole shouts up, "Hey Joe, it's me. I'm stuck in the hole. Can you help me out?" The friend jumps down in the hole, and then our guy in the hole says, "Are you stupid? Now we're both down here." Joe says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before, and I know the way out." So for all the entrepreneurs that are listening, or the people that aspire to be an entrepreneur, just know that it's not going to be easy. You're going to fall. You're going to mess up. But just know people have been there before. And if you keep watching and listening to shows like this, we're gonna help you get out of that hole. So just keep going.
I think there's a great story there. Thanks so much for sharing that. And the other part of that is the guy who gets, or gal who gets stuck at the top of a mountain, right? So it goes both ways, but I like the whole story. Kenya, what final words for our audience?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, again, this was a great conversation. We talked a lot about very important things, oral health, which leads to overall wellness, right? And then the fitness and the yoga with hope. And then we talked about social media marketing, which I love social media. So it was good to learn some things there. And then one of my least favorite things, which is mowing the lawn, but you can reach out to GreenPal to help you with that. So it was a great show.
And don't mow your lawn when it's wet unless you absolutely have to. So we learned something today. So on our show this evening was Bryan Clayton, who was our guest for GreenPal, and his app can be found at www.yourgreenpal.com. And then after him, we had our power move, Jared Curry, for Scope 16. And you can visit the website at www.scope16.com. And as our first presenter this evening, we had Hope Zvara, who presented on Mother Trucker Yoga. And that can be found at www.mothertruckeryoga.com, and learn how to move in your truck and stay a little bit healthier. And hopefully it'll keep some truckers from maybe falling asleep at the wheel, you know, if you stay active. And finally, we had John Anderson from Periogen, who keeps the tartar off your teeth, and he can be found, and his product can be found at www.periogen.com. That's spelled PERIOGEN.com. So before we go, I'd like to say thanks to our audience. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again with another episode of Passage to Profit. And I'd also like to thank Noah Fleischman, our producer, our program coordinator, Alicia Morrissey, our video editor, our video editor, Angela Wolf, and don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You're listening to Passage to Profit on iHeartRadio, WOR 710, the voice of New York.
Ta-da!